You're listening to KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine.
The opinions and views expressed in this program do not reflect those of KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this talk show or other talk shows broadcasting on KUCI, log on to our website at kuci.org or check out the latest program guide.
This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at La Mirada Theater for the McCoy Rigby production of 1776, the musical.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
James Barber.
Great. Could I get either a brief overview, an introduction, or just anything you want to say?
I just played the Phantom for 3 years on Broadway, and now I'm here in 1776 at La Mirada.
I love your singing. I mean, you just shocked me because I know the person who plays Rutledge is usually the best singer, but you just brought down the house. I saw people cheering it for you.
Thank you very much. It's kind. It's a great song. It's a sleeper, you know.
So what's your take on Mr. Rutledge?
You got to come and see the show. I don't want to give it away.
Well, you're kind of an anti-hero, and I think you represent kind of like, you know, America is not perfect. One of its greatest sins is slavery, but that's us. We have to admit that. We're trying to make up for it. You represent part of America, that dark side.
Well, look, I think the thing that is missing is communication, no matter what it is. You know, these guys were not perfect. When the Declaration was signed, slavery was still in it. Women didn't have the right to vote. They couldn't go to college. When they got married, they lost their autonomy. So, you know, the ideals are just that, ideals. They're striving for perfection, and they fell far short. But they achieved something by communicating, and I think we just need to keep working.
I love great villains. You were a great, dark anti-heroes. I love anti-heroes. You were an anti-hero. You're looking out for your people, I guess, who basically just needed slaves to pick cotton. So again, I just love the way you play. You're so elegant, so southernly. You're like a piece of southern aristocracy walking through the room.
Thank you very much. Very kind. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, once again, love your performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. Adam here with?
Hi, I'm Andy Umberger. I'm playing John Adams in 1776 here at La Mirada, and we're having a great time, so we hope people come and see it.
What's your take on John Adams?
Well, he was a bulldog. I mean, he was really the driving force behind this, and we don't celebrate him enough. He didn't want that sort of to be memorialized the way some other people were, but really, when you think about it, he kind of was the guy who really sort of drove it and got things done.
I like the way he played because basically John Adams, you described, everyone hated him, but he had to do something, and the reason they hated him because he had to do something.
Right. He was he didn't have sort of the tact that Franklin did, and he didn't suffer fools. So he had a point to make, and he had to get it done, and he was going to do it, and that's why he drove people crazy.
I love the singing. I love the music. Again, it's a little out of fashion to be patriotic, but I actually really like the message. Whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, you got to admit you love the country, or you just want this country to succeed, and that's what it felt like. The whole audience just united just a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the great thing about this show. It's so relevant today, and it has been over the years, and it moves you. I once had someone see a production, and they said, "Well, I know what happened. I know the ending, but I was still on the edge of my seat." You know, it's a great piece. Yeah.
I love the performance. I loved you in the performance. Love the singing. Loved your dancing. Loved your movement. Loved everything about it. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
My name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Peter Van Norden. I'm just more than happy to be back at La Mirada. I did a show here like 15 years ago. And I love working for Kathy and Tom. I love the theater. I love the people that they have. I would work down here anytime, anywhere, any place.
Great. Which character did you play?
I play Benjamin Franklin. I love Ben Franklin. He was the man who was the sort of intermediate. He would solve problems for everyone. He was the guy who didn't take one side or another, but would bring sides together. He was extremely effective at it. He did it through the use of wit. and he did it through the use of kindness. And I love that about him, and it shows.
Yeah, I love the way he played because you showed his dark side where he hated his son. He was kind of a womanizer.
He sure was.
Yeah, but he was also very egotistical.
Absolutely. Most of these guys had huge egos. They wouldn't have been able to do what they did if they didn't. But that's the fun part to play. The fun part to play is he has such an opinion about everything.
Yeah, again, I love the entire performance. If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
I think, A, they'll have a really good time because it's funny, and B, they'll learn something about American history they probably don't know. But even more importantly, I think the piece is actually very moving. When that declaration gets finally signed and comes together, it's a very moving event. How did they get 13 colonies all to agree to the same thing? We can't get 2 states to agree to anything anymore. It's a fascinating, very moving piece.
Especially nowadays, where it's just unfashionable to be patriotic. But still, everyone, whether you're Republican, whether you're Democrat, you love this country, you hate this country, you're still a patriot.
It's a very good point. A very good point. No matter where you stand, if you love the idea of America, this is where it came from.
Once again, love your performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Caleb Shaw. I played Thomas Jefferson in 1776. He's the writer, author of the Declaration of Independence. Kind of a silent man. Man of few words, but very important words. And it was a pleasure to be a part of this production.
Well, so what's your take on Thomas? Was he this great sage? Was he a slave trader? Was he a hypocrite? What do you thought?
He was a little of both, honestly. He was a great sage. He was very wise. He was very articulate in his writing, not really in his speaking, actually, but in his writing he was profound, hence being the one to scribe the Declaration so amazingly. Yes, he also was somewhat of a slave trader. He did eventually move on from that. And I think that's important.
Yeah, if my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Oh my goodness. They should expect to see extremely high quality acting and production. Just kind of the who's who of Southern California men. It's mostly a male show, but the acting on stage and the talent is at such a high level. I'm very honored to share the stage with the people that are in this cast.
I agree. A lot of the bit actors just threw a lot into it. They did it through glances, through their faces, through their emotions, and even when you weren't given a song to do it, you actually added a lot of musicality just through being exciting and connecting with the audience.
Yes, I would agree, and I think a lot of that comes from the direction. Glenn Cassell is an amazing director, and his fingerprints are on every single thing you see in the show. I don't think I've ever worked with a director who is that involved and knowledgeable and precise with everything he wants. And what you were saying with even side characters having a lot of importance in the way they're acting, in the way they're staged, a lot of that's due to him and the motivation he prescribed for us throughout each and every scene, even per line sometimes, getting us motivation.
Once again, I love the performance. I love you in it also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
Hi, I'm Terry Bibb. Hi, I just played Abigail Adams in 1776. I'm thrilled to be here at La Mirada for the first time. I am really thrilled to be working opposite my husband for the first time in a while. And just having a great time.
Great. And what's your take on Abigail?
Well, she was ahead of her time because she was truly a partner to her husband. They were equals in almost every sense of the word, and he really valued her advice and her input, and she had a big influence on him.
I agree. Abigail Adams, she was actually like a co-president of John Adams.
Yes.
You know, she helped a lot of the revolution where she actually got the saltpeter. But actually, in the play tonight, you actually complimented a lot of him. Whenever he was in angst, whenever he had to do anything personal, family, he always turned to you and you actually did a song.
That's right. I gave him good advice when he needed it. Yeah.
Plus, I love your singing. You were beautiful. I love your performance tonight. You were fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you once again for being on the show.
Yes, thank you, Ashton.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
Hi, I'm Nick Santamaria. I played John Hancock in the show. Well, I'm usually known as a comedian, and I originated the role of the genie in Disney's Aladdin, a Musical Spectacular, and I've done the producers with Mel Brooks for 5.5 years. So I'm known as a comedic actor, and it was a wonderful experience to take this character on and not do all the shtick and the crazy stuff, you know what I mean? And just get into the character and play it.
Which character was that again?
John Hancock. I was the president of the Congress. John Hancock was the richest man in Massachusetts at the time, and he was the governor for about 17 years. He was quite an aristocrat, but he inherited his money from his family, and he went into the shipping business and was accused of smuggling by the English because he would bring in things that the English would tax, exorbitantly. And so he was brought to trial, and his lawyer was John Adams, and that's where they kind of bonded, So he was a very interesting guy.
I see where your comedic timing came in, because it served it very well. At times you were a little funny. At times you just gave an impression of being frustrated because nothing gets done. These people won't listen to me. I'm the president. I'm a president of what?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was 93 degrees. There were horse flies, that were like so bigger than your nose, and it was not a comfortable place to be. And they were there for over a year. When the play starts, they were there for over a year trying to get things done. So he was frustrated, and he was very uncomfortable.
Well, I love the performance tonight. Everyone put their souls into it. I think maybe everyone's just proud to be an American. Whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, you're just proud to be there, and as a citizen, you're just proud to just stand there. And even the bit actors put their souls into it. I can just feel it. I can just feel it.
Everybody is right on, and I think everybody's feeling a little strange these days. The present administration, I don't want to go into it too much, but it is really, the show is very prescient now, and it feels good to feel good about government rather than the other way around.
Yeah, well, these guys were like farmers. It wasn't like they were aristocrats. The British were the aristocrats. So sometimes I feel like the rich, well, I shouldn't get into politics, but the rich people are sometimes like the British we're trying to find independence. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, let's face it. You talk about independence, they're independently wealthy. The 1% they talk about? That's a hierarchy. I mean, they are aristocrats, and we are the peasants. And the middle class, forget it. We've been swept under the rug. So it's very nice to see something like this where, the government is coming together to do something good for the people.
Once again, love the performance. I love your performance also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
My name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with
Ted Barton. I was the world's tiniest Revolutionary War buff, and I wore out my LP of this musical. I was obsessed with it, so I'm overjoyed to be part of this production.
And which character did you play?
James Wilson. Mr. Wilson is a small but pivotal role because he's the guy at the very end. It all comes down to his decision on whether America will be independent or no. I won't spoil it. You'll have to see the show. But he's thrust into the limelight, and he doesn't want to be there.
I love the way you played your character because you played him very small. He had to do a huge thing. He was a judge, so he wasn't a poor guy. He was actually influential, but he was just like a typical American. He doesn't want to, he doesn't think he's big, even though he is very big.
Right, and he's completely out of his element. When he's in his courtroom, and he even has a line about basing all his decisions on legality and precedence, and of course here, they're making a new country. There is no precedent, so he's completely at sea and extremely uncomfortable.
but he handles it with grace. It's kind of like, I think Hemingway once said, "What's courage? It's all it is just grace under fire." That's all it is. And he was under fire. He handled it as much grace as he could, even though he had a lot of trepidation, but he still stiffed it up and he did the right thing.
Right, and also his great friend and hero, John Dickinson, makes a huge misstep at the end and embarrasses him in front of the entire Congress, and that really flips him.
I really love the performance tonight. I love all the characters. I loved you in it too. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm on KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with...
My name is Michael Starr. I was raised in Northern California, and I'm living here down in Los Angeles and doing 1776, playing Richard Henry Lee. He's a good guy. He's very enthusiastic, which I think he gets a bad rap for in the show, but he's very proud of the Lees of Old Virginia, and he's not afraid to tell anybody about it. And, what's great about Richard Henry Lee is that it's a character in the show, but also, a real-life person, and it's a story that not a lot of people know. The importance of the Virginia resolution to get the ball rolling on the Declaration of Independence is something that not a lot of people know, and that we get to share here at La Mirada.
Great. If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
They should expect to see a piece of history, and they should expect to have a lot of fun while doing it.
I loved your performance. Basically, you brought a lot of liveliness to the show. Because, you look at this, it's probably a history book, it's probably going to be slow, but right at the very beginning, you just kicked it out, try to hit it up to a higher gear. So I just love the way you performed it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you once again for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm on KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with...
Jordan Goodsell. Hey, very grateful to be a part of this production. It's been a fantastic ride with the cast, crew, creative, wonderful director, and just it's been an awesome show. We're so excited.
And which character did you play?
I played Charles Thompson, who's the secretary. Charles, he was a real character. He was secretary of the Congress during this whole period of the Declaration of Independence for 15 years, and he was the one who eventually passed the nomination of president to George Washington after John Hancock resigned.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Expect to see anything like Congress today. Fighting, drinking, and just hilarious moments, fantastic acting, and just a wonderful production, I believe.
Yeah, I love the way you played your character, because again, you're a man from basically, even though you have a lot of lines, you're actually a man from the outside looking in.
Exactly.
And basically, even though you're still engaged in the audience, and you actually have a very lovely song too.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you.
Okay, once again, love the performance. I loved you. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with...
I'm Michael Rothar. I'm delighted to be in this production. I've always wanted to be in the show. It's the first Broadway show I ever saw. I saw the original cast in 1970 when I was a teenager, and I've been in love with the show ever since, and I'm so grateful to be able to be in it here. Please come.
And which character do you play?
I play Andrew McNair, the congressional custodian.
What's your take on Andrew?
I think he's a grumpy old man. But I think rather than his alliance going with the conservatives or the progressives, his heart is with the soldiers in the field. That's all. Which is why he's involved in that scene where the courier sings about losing his two best friends. He cares about what happens to those poor kids out there in the field.
I look at him almost like a father figure to those senators, because they were kids, basically.
Well, some of them, yes, actually. I think he's got a good relationship, particularly with Hopkins, because he's sort of his enabler. He's always getting him rum. And the guy picks on him all the time, but it's a friendly relationship.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
They should expect to see something where you know the ending. We all know the ending. You know they're going to sign this thing. But the beauty of the play, and it really is a play, is that you sit on the edge of your chair and say, is this going to happen? Are they going to sign this thing? And it happens again and again. You think, oh, I know what happens. But boy, how it happens makes you doubt the ending, which is the way any play should work.
Well, I love the performance. I love you to it because you put so much character. Even though you're kind of a side character, you put so much into it, so much life into it. It just gives us the quality that it deserves.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any part in this show is worth doing, and I'm really happy to be up there with this fine company. And Glenn Casal has really done a brilliant job of making us a gang of people that really belong together and really have one objective.
Once again, love the performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
I'm Ellie Wyman. I play Martha Jefferson in 1776, the musical. She is just a fun-loving, bubbly girl. She comes in and sings a song about Thomas Jefferson and how he has this secret talent for playing the violin that wooed her into marrying him. And it's just a nice, fun song. She gets to bring a little levity to the show. So, yeah.
Could I get a brief bio of you, an introduction, or just anything you want to say?
Yeah, of course. I'm 25 years old. I went to Cal State Fullerton. I got my BFA in musical theater there. I've been doing musical theater locally around LA for the past couple of years, and right after this I'm headed to New York City to see how that goes. So yeah, that's about it.
Well, you did a fantastic performance tonight, because one thing about it is, again, this is like reading a history book. It can be very dry, but it's characters who actually uplift it. And your song is very bubbly, very uplifting. It's actually what kind of lifts the show. It makes it entertaining. You know what I mean?
Indeed, absolutely. And I think exactly where it is in the show, it's actually right after one of the longest book scenes in any musical theater without a song. It's, I think, 45 minutes of a scene. And then they throw in a nice lively number with a little waltzing, a little, singing, just to kind of give the show a little bit of levity right after that long book scene. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I love your singing. I love your dancing. I love the performance. Even the bit actors tonight. They actually just put everything they could into it and just made a wonderful show.
Yeah, our director, Glenn Casal, is really good at making sure that the story gets told from everybody's point of view. And it's an incredible opportunity for actors to really create a character, especially historical people who actually lived, and there's no small parts in this show, So.
Well, once again, I love your performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm on KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
Brad Rupp. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Great. And which character did you play?
I played George Reed from Delaware. He was a conservative. He was against the revolution. But once Delaware sided with revolution, he went with his other constituents and joined the revolution as well. But at first, he was against it. He was more conservative than others.
I like the way you played your character, because you're not exactly a good guy. You're kind of what they look at as kind of a bad guy. And in a show like this, where it's just good and bad, right and wrong, traitors and heroes and all that, you played a dark character, and I love the way you played it very silently.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to do with that. I have my lines, but I try to stay engaged. I'm glad you saw that, and I always play bad guys, and I relish it. For some reason, I like playing the bad guys.
Well, I love it because, again, it gives character, it gives a foil, it basically gives a yin to the yang and all that. And you did very well, even very quietly, with facial expressions, with body language, with antagonizing your co-actors. It was just well done.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, once again, love the performance. I loved you. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
Peter Allen Vogt. Just finished opening 1776. Great production here in La Mirada.
And which character did you play?
I'm Samuel Chase, the congressman from Massachusetts. Oh, no, Maryland. No, look at me changing states from Maryland. I feel that he's caught between the North and the South, being Maryland, and he wants independence, but he doesn't want to fight. So if they hand it to him, he'll be happy with it. If they don't, he'll be happy with that. So he's ready to pick whatever side wins.
I like the way you gave a lot of life into your character. You didn't make him a stuffy, staunch, boring, monotone guy. You just, gave him character, made him lively, enjoys food, wants to make sure things work. We want to win, you know what I mean? So he put all that in the character.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I felt like he was really trying hard to be on a team, and when he finally got on the right team, he was happy with it. But I also felt he was holding on the aristocracy of England still.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
If you come back again, I think you'll notice even more things that actors are choosing to do on stage and the reactions to things, and how you still at the end you think they're not going to sign it, and then they end up signing it.
Well, I love the piece. Also, I love the way, nowadays, it kind of times just dictate the musical.
Yeah.
It's like, right now, it's like, who's really the aristocracy in the United States? Back then, these guys weren't aristocracy. Even though they were wealthy, they were kind of well-to-do, they were just being taxed to death, beaten down. They were just regular, hard-working guys.
Yeah. They were. A lot of them were farmers, and the line about they all wanted property is what made the most sense. So I think it's amazing that people who had nothing really did do the American dream and created it.
Well, I really loved the performance, and I loved doing it also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
I'm Jason Chacon. Thank you for coming, by the way. This is just a story that is begging to be told, especially in this day and age. Just with a Congress that is less than stellar, it's always nice to remember the fact that despite differences, you can actually get stuff accomplished if you're willing to compromise, if you're willing to stay the course, and if you have a little bit of hope. And that's what this whole thing is about. It's just these people in this situation, they were put down, and they found a way to overcome it, despite the sacrifice and despite what they knew was going to be disastrous for them, or at least could have been. So I think it's a really nice story that needs to be told.
It's great. Which character did you play?
I played Josiah Bartlett from New Hampshire. He was a very somber man. He was religious, he was quiet, but he was very well respected. Anybody who can teach themselves Greek and Latin, like he did, definitely deserves more than a pat on the back. And while he wasn't exactly, a leading member of the Congress, he was for independence. He was the first one to sign it, besides John Hancock. And the quote that I found was that, and he made the rafters roar. And I think that's really important, being the first man to sign it, to put his name on this outside of John Hancock, the president. That takes some gumption, and he was willing to put his name on it. And a lot of people these days don't like to put their name on anything. They like to hide behind a keyboard or a screen. Actually putting your name, owning something like that, and I think that's commendable.
I love the piece because all the actors, even if you're a bit actor or something, you just put so much. You put everything into it and basically made everything better. Like you made the other person better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about being around a cast that's full of tremendous actors. Is you can feel the energy on stage from everybody at every part of the play. And everybody gets at least one little moment. Obviously Adams, Franklin, Jefferson, these are the guys that everybody knows through history. But, guys like John Witherspoon from New Jersey, people like Lyman Hall from Georgia, these are guys that don't get mentioned with the big founding fathers, but they had such an important part to play. And we all had that in the play as well. And it was communicated to us by Glenn, the director, that these are real men. You need to tell their stories. And I think everybody they took that to heart, and they really ran with that.
I love the performance. I loved everyone. I loved you in the performance also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
No problem. Thank you so much.
1776, the musical, will be playing at La Mirada Theater from January 11th to February 3rd. For more information, go to www.lamiradatheater.com. This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at the Complex Ruby Theater for the world premiere of A Misunderstanding. Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Matt Chait. Well, I'm the author of the play. I was an actor for a long time, and I went on a spiritual journey
when I was in my mid-20s to my early 30s. And then I kind of re-entered normal life, you might say. And I think particularly after having children, through having children, you get to interface with a lot of people that you wouldn't normally interface with through play groups and school volunteer groups, etc. And it just so happened that a number of the people that I got to meet were scientists, and they would say things conversationally that were completely the opposite of what I held to be true. And this really startled me, and then I tried to think for a very long time and very deeply about how is there a way that I can hold all these scientific truths that have been revealed in the last 50 years within a spiritual context? Because I knew from my own experience and the people that I met on my spiritual journey that they knew something that was absolutely true, and I couldn't deny that. How could I, hold on to that truth and try to make everything compatible with what is now known scientifically? And that's what I've been trying to do. That's what's been haunting me. And I've been involved with theater my whole life, and then it dawned on me about 5 or 6 years ago that, maybe I could write a play that that presented my ideas, and that's what I did.
Great. And which character did you play tonight?
I played Dr. Cates, and the name is Bertram Cates, and this is a name taken from the play Inherit the Wind. The first genesis of this play that you saw tonight, which is A Misunderstanding, was called Disinherit the Wind. And the characters, it's sort of the reverse. I don't know if you know Inherit the Wind. That was based on the Scopes trial, where a public school teacher was arrested, actually, for introducing Darwin into his public school class. So I took it forward another 80 years, and now a famous neurobiologist was dismissed from the university for introducing spiritual ideas in his biology class. So it was kind of the reverse. And my point was that the Darwinian materialism has become a kind of entrenched, hardened, kind of anti-religion religion, just as resistant to change and just as self-protected as the biblical teachings were when they were resistant to Darwin. Yeah.
I love this piece. I thought it was intellectual, but also it framed, like what you said about this religious type of view. Back in the old days, it wasn't religion we look at nowadays. It was politics. It was like, how do we get as much money as we can? How do we get control of the people? How do we conquer more nations? Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with loving your neighbor, or it had something to do, I guess, to feeding the poor and all that, but it's more like, how do you manage the poor? Yeah. So it was politics, and that's what it's like nowadays. The people in charge of our education are politicians. Mm-hmm. And again, they have their own agenda. Everyone has their agenda when we talk about things like that. But I love this piece because it didn't have an agenda. It wasn't like a Republican and a Democrat debating about it, yelling at each other. It wasn't about, it wasn't a hate speech. It was actually people just expressing ideas, trying to discover things. I just loved it. It was very intellectual. It didn't talk down to anyone. It was wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I'm afraid to add anything to that because you just, what you said was so lovely. So, thank you. Thank you.
Well, the play also talked about a couple, and which basically talked about the humanity too, because it didn't separate the humanity from the idea of creationism, because a lot of scientists just separate, right. But this was about connecting them. Right. It was about connecting people to this idea. Right. So it's not just chemical reactions, not mathematics on a board. again, I can't express how much I really respected what you said. Okay, well, once again, love the piece. I loved your performance also.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. Now I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Bruce Katzman. I'm an actor in the production of A Misunderstanding at the Complex Theater.
Great. And which character did you play? I'm
playing Joshua Brownstein, head of the chair of biology department at the University of California. Josh is let's talk about the play in general first and then narrow it down. The play is very much a discussion between the Darwinist point of view and the intelligent design point of view, which is not the same as creationist point of view, but a guy like me, who's an orthodox Darwinist, insists on saying that creationism and intelligent design are the same thing. So we have this continuing discussion and debate in the course of the play, which is never resolved, but by the end of the play, my character, as I said, who's a staunch orthodox Darwinist, is able to have a glimmer of possible understanding that there might be an alternative idea in the universe other than straight Darwinism.
I love that about the piece because it was separate from, it was a little different from, say, Inherit the Wind, which basically, it was about a court case where people kind of hated each other. They would not give in. This was more about compromise, about thinking, expanding your mind, opening it up, for all possibilities.
Towards the end of the play, it certainly does become about that. Can we find a way to listen to each other? Can we find a way to accept that our opposing ideas does not mean that we can't love each other, that we can't be friends with each other, that in the case of my daughter and her fiance, that they can't marry each other and still have differing points of view? Can we, the very last line of the play is, my character's opposing character, Dr. Cates, saying to me, let's go somewhere where we can listen to each other. And I think that's the thematic conclusion that he wants us to come to. Not that we're going to settle this question. I mean, how do you know? How do you know? What was there something before the Big Bang, or was it where the Big Bang come from? What was before? And I mean, there's a lot of philosophical questions, and that's another point to be made from my character's point of view, is that I am a scientist. I want proof. The things that he talks about, which borders on spirituality and the notion of consciousness, borders, from my character's point of view, on religion, and it belongs in a divinity school where we're going to discuss the nature of who am I. I have a great line in the play. It's one of my favorite lines in the play, and I say, who questions are not within the province of science. We answer what questions. And that really comes to summarize my character, I think, a lot. I want the nuts and bolts. I want the evidence. I want the observable, verifiable proofs that I can see in front of me. I don't want to talk about the spark of consciousness or spirituality. That's not within, at least for the most of the play, that it's not within my interest or within the world that I want to explore. But by the end of the play, my walls crack a little bit. And I don't think they can crack much more than that for the moment, but it's a beginning.
Also like the fact that there wasn't, how much hate speech there is around here? It's like automatically, if you hear a debate like this, the Republicans, the creationists, the Democrats, automatically the evolutionists. And again, it's not about, it's more about arguing than anything else, trying to get the other person to yield. It's not about, discovering anything. But this was very respectfully done. I think that both sides, if you're a creationist, you would like this piece. Very, very well articulate. If you actually were an evolutionist, you actually would still feel like you were being respected. We still have guidelines here. We still talk about science. Science still matters. So again, it's not like if you're a creation, if you're an evolutionist, you're going to hate this piece. No, that's not the case.
Right, I agree. It's about allowing ourselves to have a discussion, and I think your point is well taken. the world we're living in right now, our American society, in this moment, this historical and cultural moment, is terribly divided. It's very hard for us to talk to each other because there's so many assumptions that the person on the other side is a complete idiot. And how could you possibly go along with what your leaders are telling you to do? And that's making it a much more polarized society. It's making it a much more divided country, which is something we're going to have to figure out as a nation how to come back together from. And it looks kind of impossible right now because without getting too much into politics, the tones and the precedences that are being set right now, the new lows of discourse are becoming a new standard. And to get back to our American ideals and what people on the left regard as American ideals and what people on the right consider American ideals, it's like we're talking about two different countries, two different universes. We're so polarized. But the message of this play, I think, is we need to talk to each other. And doesn't mean I have to buy everything you say in full measure. I have to be willing to listen and to respect that you have a point of view which is respectable. One other thing I'll say about all that is in preparing for this role and trying to look at actors come to roles. You didn't write the play. You don't know the story. You get a script one day. You get hired for a job. You got to enter a world that you had nothing to do with creating, but you have to create a character. And that involves taking somebody else's text and somebody else's given circumstances and personalizing them. It's for me to discover how that might work in my life. I had to look at issues of religion, in which I grew up a certain kind of way, and I knew that my neighbors and people in my community, there were people of other religions. I wasn't necessarily the most respectful of those points of view, and a little bit, because of my background, a little bit intolerant of the idea that you could believe God meant this, and I'm going to believe God meant that. Now, we're both trying to find spiritual completion somehow, or comfort. How you get to your understanding of what God is should not be something that we have a war about or fight about or can't talk to each other. We build walls about because my religion says this, your religion says that, and never can we meet. So there's some interesting efforts in this play to make us stop and listen to each other.
What I also liked about it is the humanity to it. Because, it was like two people really genuinely respected themselves. There was a family there. It talked about love. It talked about people. So it wasn't just numbers. Because a lot of people would think this is going to be boring. It wasn't boring. The play wasn't about creation and evolution. It was about communicating, about getting along. It was about people.
Well, I think that's the real challenge to writing a play like this, and that's something that Matt can take a lot of credit for in putting human faces on this, because you can have a play all about these intellectual discussions, and that's not really a play. A play is almost always going to be about the interactions between people and people who love each other and people who don't know how to get along with each other. The plays are generally about conflict of ideas. But if the ideas aren't rooted, based, grounded in recognizable human people that you in the audience can sit and identify with, whether you agree with them or not, because that person's arguing just like my Aunt Mary does, or my Uncle George, or my sister, or my best friend who I don't talk to anymore. That's when you can find that identification, then you have a play that's going to keep people interested, because it's really about people. How do people get along? Not so much about the pluses and minuses of a particular philosophical point of view.
Well, I really loved the performance. I I was intrigued by it. It talked about heavy topics, but none of the audience was bored or falling asleep. Where they were engaged, they weren't checking their watches.
Good.
So you guys did a fantastic job. I just loved it.
Thank you so much. Well, I hope we've got 4 more weeks to play, and I hope we'll generate some good word of mouth, and people come down to see the play. I love the actors. I love the actors' commitment. It's a really good company to work with. The director, Lena DeSantos, was wonderful to work with. It's a great company of actors. Everyone is, committed to the work, and there's no ego crazy people running around. It's just about how do we make the play better? How do we make this work sing to an audience? So thank you so much for coming.
Well, I love the piece. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Amy Helene Carlson. I'm from New York City. I studied with Bill Esper at his studio in New York, and I'm relatively new to the LA scene.
And which character did you play tonight?
I play Mel, the only woman in the show. Mel, I think, is a really sort of forward-thinking woman, extremely bright, articulate, hardworking, and has a wonderful, very deep relationship with her father and also her fiancé. And she comes to find out that there's a big part of her fiancé that he has kept from her, part of his spiritual life, about some parts of him, sort of his moral constitution, that he has withheld from her. So there's a big rift, and we're not totally sure what ultimately is the fallout between the two lovers.
If my viewers decide to come out and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
They should definitely expect to see a play that really discusses ideas. It's an idea play. It's talking about a much bigger picture and putting it in sort of the setting of a school and two lovers, two intellectual people battling it out, and then also seeing two other people, a young couple who are dealing with the same issue but battling from a heart place instead of a head space. So yeah, if you have questions about creationism versus evolution, or sort of like a bigger picture of intelligent design, you will definitely appreciate the show.
Yeah, I really love this piece. I thought it was fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, first of all, it was very intellectual. Because, in college, I remember talking about things like this with my friends. I mean, we would never talk about it in class, but we would talk about it with our friends because we would take, these philosophy courses. And then we think we knew what we were talking about, so we would start talking about this. I mean, how do you know that you exist? I mean, how do you know anything exists? Things like that. And basically,
totally.
After time went by, you get a little jaded and you realize it's politically incorrect to talk about things I just don't want to think about, things that there are no answers to. So if I ever get a philosophical questions while I'm interviewing, obviously I'm not going to come up with something really controversial that gets half my audience to hate me. I'm going to come up with a phrase, that's a philosophical question, and with all philosophical questions, there's just no answer. It's like, is there right and wrong? Is there good and evil? That's a philosophical question. There's just no answer to that question. But that's a really cowardly response. And this play wasn't cowardly. It actually addressed those, like it, hate it, but you take whatever you want from it. But it was very respectful and very intelligent the way that it answered the questions.
Something I find really wonderful about this piece is it is has an unapologetic point of view, which is, I think, sort of what you're saying, that whether you agree with that point of view or not is up for you to come away from the piece with, but the piece itself, the writing itself, has a point of view, has something to say, and makes no mistake about it. It really lets you have it, I think.
Also loved your character because the characters in general were very complex. The good guy wasn't the good guy, the bad guy wasn't the bad guy. But they all had baggage. They all just had emotion. They all had drama in them, and that's what I liked about your character. You just weren't this typical beautiful girl who basically just, was just always did the right thing. You had your problems too. You had to work things out, and at the end, you had to deserve your own happy ending, and you had to suffer through it to make it happen.
Well, I think it's interesting that you said that there's a happy ending, because I don't necessarily know if there is one. I mean, I'd like to think that there is. I would really very much like to think that Mel and Howard end up together, but that's something that I really appreciate, is that the way it's written is we really give Mel a platform to assess herself as her own independent woman who has to deal with the love of her life, the person, her heartbeat soulmate, who has kept these very substantial things from her. So I appreciate that we get to see a woman work through that, and that there isn't sort of a neat bow at the end. We don't come away from that relationship thinking, oh, and, it's sort of like a rat-tat-tat, boom. We don't have that, and I think that is sort of a testament to the quality of the writing, and also a gift to the audience that you get to walk away from that hopefully questioning. Like, maybe you have a good feeling that something will work out, but it's not set in stone and we don't know.
Well, once again, love the performance. I loved your performance also.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Dennis Renard. Well, I recently came from UCLA, and I'm entering the big bad real life theater world now. And this is a great milestone in that, I think. I feel very privileged to be a part of it.
Great. And which character do you play tonight?
I play Howard Blair. Howard, he's a complicated guy. He's a sincere, passionate man, but he has a problem when it comes to courage and standing up for himself, even when things, they might have terrible results. But there's a point where you have to declare yourself, or otherwise you're being untruthful. You're not being yourself.
My viewers decided to come by and see this piece. What should they expect to see?
I would say expect to have, answers to a lot of the questions explored in this play are given to us as kids. Like, you inherit whatever your parents' ideas are regarding how the universe was created and how we got to be here. And I think audiences will really have to revisit what their beliefs are and just battle with the fact, how much of this is me, what do I actually believe, and what has my experience taught me.
I remember in college we had our English class, because they talked about philosophy in English, in which we talked about Immanuel Kant, and we talked about all that stuff. I remember sometimes the professor would come up with something philosophical and say something. The students would just say nothing. They'd just be glazed over. They would say, I mean, I'm sure you're an actor. You've taken these courses. Yes. It's kind of like they're just not ready for this. It's like this is a whole new world. You have to step out. You have these basic beliefs of don't cross the street, don't yell at people, do what your mother tells you, but never that. Where did I come from? I mean, is there really such thing as truth? And again, that's what this play talked about. It talked about this. There's a bigger world out there, and you're a kid, basically. Mm-hmm. You're a kid who basically just says you're not supposed to cross the street. That's what I got from the piece.
Yeah, definitely. And how entrenched we are in the politics of everything. People are, I can't even enter that discussion because I know where it's going. And a couple of times, Dr. Cates catches Professor Brownstein on him trying to shut down the conversation. It's like, no, let's keep going.
Yeah. Also, one thing I loved about the humanity, because it talked about you introduced actually a relationship of a husband and a wife, or of a boyfriend and a girlfriend getting, and that was so incredibly important to this piece because there was so much humanity into it.
Right.
It wasn't boring, because a lot of people would think you're talking about philosophy, it's going to be boring. This was not boring. It was intellectually challenging, but also it connected with the humanity, because it talked about the self. It talked about love too. And one thing about love, are you married?
I am not. I'm not.
I'm married. Basically, when you get married, you're going to find out that marriage isn't what you think it is. It's actually compromise. Marriage is about compromise. Some people would tell me, well, I thought marriage was about love, but I tell them love is actually about sacrifice. Think about that for a second Darwinianly. That's totally counterproductive to Darwin. You're not supposed to, if there's a bear there, you're not supposed to jump in front of the bear because your wife is behind you.
Right.
You're supposed to run away and survive because you're bigger and your genes have to progress throughout. But love should be bred out of our society because it is so suicidal, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's dangerous for us. People do dumb things when they're in love, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it connected with the humanity. That's what I loved about this piece.
Yeah. At the end of the day, no matter how you feel about these important questions, the people you love, they want to know who you are. And even if they don't necessarily want to hear your problematic opinions, you owe it to them because that's what love is.
Right. Well, I love this piece. I loved your acting, and also thank you very much for being on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming, and thanks for engaging with us.
A Misunderstanding will be playing at the Complex Ruby Theater from January 4th through February 3rd. For more information, go to www.plays411.com/misunderstanding. This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at Theater 40 for their presentation of It Is Done.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Jeff Rack, the director of It Is Done.
What do you like about this piece?
I love the mystery of it. I love that it kind of unfolds like an onion. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. It's very humorous and comical as well. And I think the audience is, they're coming in here. They don't know this play. Most people don't know this play, so which is great. You come in here and you're going to be surprised by what transpires. And so I'm telling everybody, don't let anybody know what happens at the end. Just come in and experience it.
Okay, well, basically, without letting too much out, if my viewers really want to come to this piece, what should they expect to see?
It's kind of like a classic night gallery, the old Rod Serling night gallery, which is why it's such a nice pairing with the other show that we have playing in rep with it, which is two Twilight Zone episodes from the original series. So it's kind of a nice matchup of these two shows for that reason. But without giving too much away, that's the most I can say. It's very funny. Also, it's just a three-person piece, three people that are trapped in this bar because there's a biblical storm outside, and they really can't go anywhere. And supposedly it's three strangers, and the story unfolds, and you kind of find out what's really going on.
I loved your choice in actors. They were all anti-heroes. They were all believable, which is kind of hard to do. So, what do you look for in your casting anyway?
In auditioning, it's just you hope you have people come out to audition, and then when the right people come across, you know it. You know what I mean? So I hadn't actually worked with either of these actors before. I was aware of all of their performances and capabilities and stuff. Curtis, who plays Hank, I actually worked with in other capacities, and I knew that he was an actor, but I hadn't really worked with him in that way before. So, it's just they're fantastic, and you hope that you find the people that can pull off these characters, and you know it when you see it. So.
Okay. Well, strange things happen to me right now this year. I'm seeing a lot of pieces about metaphysics and a lot about God. There was actually a piece I saw recently about, there's no God, it's just all existentialism. Another piece I saw was a debate between Darwinism and creationism, intelligent design and all that. So I don't know what's going on here, because this piece is kind of like that. I'm just if you see me dead at the end of this year, it's because I wasn't paying attention.
Well, you just hope that when you come out to see anything that it's thought-provoking, right? That you leave satisfied and having had an experience, and you can talk about it, on the way home, and think about it. The closest I can say too about this thing is that it's kind of like The Sixth Sense. That's I'll just say that. It's like The Sixth Sense. Once you see it, you're going to want to see it again, because you're going to go back and say, "Oh, I want to go back and see this thing to see what I missed." So, yeah, come out and see the show. I guarantee you're going to have a fantastic time. This is our opening, but we've had two previews, and at the end of every show, the audience just rises to their feet and is laughing and stomping and enjoying it. So, it's a ride. It's definitely a ride. So,
once again, love the piece, love the direction. Also, really exciting. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming out.
It Is Done will be playing at Theater 40 from January 17th to February 19th. For more information, go to www.theater40.org.